Hey guys, back on the YouTube video. Today it's going to be a collections video. Now, I have not done one of these in a while because, well, to be honest, I do these in my spare time, mainly on Sundays when my day off is, so that way I can get them all done. But I do a lot of stuff even on my day off, so I don't normally have time to do all these. But one of my good friends reached out to me in the comments, you know who you are, and asked me if I could do a collections video of my Barlows. And yeah, I thought about it, and I told him I'll definitely do it when I can, because I have added a few new ones in recently. So, I guess let's go ahead and get them all done, and I even got my ones that my father gave to me that I still got. So, I guess the first things I'll start off with is the top row right here. First things first is this Camco Near Mint Barlow with the original sheep's foot. Now, this one is a rare bird. My father was able to find this for me. And the reason why this is so rare is because I've got its brother right here. This is the Camco Barlow with a clip point blade instead of a sheep's foot. This particular Barlow is very rare to find. You don't find these normally, and this is the more common one. And finding one of these is very rare because it doesn't say Barlow on this. This is a factory, which one was this? A factory error, because they forgot to put the word Barlow on the actual Barlow. That's what makes this so rare. And I've also got the other one, so I've got the pair of them. So those are a nice pair of Barlows. And plus, the Barlow itself is just a classic workman's knife. Any knife collector knows knows Barlows, because they've been around for a long time. Funny thing is, this knife is very popular in the United States, but it did not originally come from the United States. The particular Barlow design came from Sheffield, England, and no one really knows who actually made the original first Barlow. No one knows because, back in those days, they didn't keep much records of all that stuff. And basically all they were able to narrow down to is that the Barlow design came from Sheffield, England, and that's about it. And then it made its way over to the US, and then one after another, thousands of companies started copying them. Camillus made one, Remington made one, Case, Buck. Hundreds of companies even today still make this knife, probably more than that, because it's still, even today, as a popular knife. And even when I first started working on pocket knives for a long time, I even worked on a bunch of these. I still do every once in a while, because Barlows are super simple to put back together. If I recall, I even have a video of me putting one of these together. They're super simple to work on, super simple to put back together. I've worked on probably 100 of them over the years. All different sizes. I've worked on big ones. I've worked on small ones. They're just so popular, and that's why a lot of guys ask me to fix them here and there. And plus, I do collect them here and there. Anyway, enough history lesson, getting on with the collections. Next is this Imperial Knife. If I remember right, this is the one I picked up into Queen that I cleaned up. Yeah, this is the one I picked up. Jeez, I need to oil this one. Yeah, this is that Imperial 2 blade I cleaned up. That one's nice. That one's definitely one of my favorites. And then this is at first I was actually going to sell this knife, but when I got home and realized the Imperial I have is a 1-bladed, this one's a 2-blade. So now I've got the pair, I've got the 1-blade and the 2-blade. So that's awesome. This particular one if I remember right, I got from my buddy JR. This one's one of my favorites I restored. This is an old Ulster Barlow. These are very hard to find. And this particular one I took a lot of care into to restore. Because when I first got this thing was in super rough shape. It's not in the best of shape now, but it's in a hell of a lot better shape than it was. And I use special decorative walnut wood that I have kept that's got that nice grain in the middle of it. And like I said, this Barlow is particularly very old. You don't see these hardly anymore. And they're very collectible and hard to find. And the fact that I was able to get one with the original blade was even better. So I do collect Barlows if they're collectible and rare. And plus, I just love them anyway because of the history. So that's awesome. That was one of my favorite restorations. Next, put these back here. I'm putting the ones this way so that way I don't get them confused. Next is this one. If I remember right, this is one of the ones my father got me. This is the Smoky Mountain Knife Works Colonial Barlow. Near mint condition. Thank you very much, Dad. That one's awesome. In such mint shape, hardly ever used. All I do is just repolish it and oil it every once in a while. Can't beat a classic. Only, it even says 1979 year knife. One of 2000. That's nice. Next is this one. This is one of the first ones I put together a long time ago, hence why I've kept it so long. This is an Imperial blade on a pair of Pakistan grips. Now, I know what you're going to say. Why the heck did I use Pakistan stuff? Is because when I first started, I know Pakistan is known for shitty blades. Pardon my language. But normally what I do is I throw away the blades and I reuse the parts. And these grips came from a Pakistan Barlow. And I reused the spring, yada yada, and I put the blade into it. Personally, I still think it looks nice. And it locks pretty good. You can hear that little snap. But still, it's one of the first ones I put together. That's why I've kept it so long. But I don't use Pakistan ones anymore. That's kind of why I don't do that anymore. Next is, this is one, if I remember right, this is one I picked up. Yes, this is an Imperial Diamond Edge knife. This one's one of my favorites that I picked up. With the original etching still on the blade. That you don't hardly see anymore. That's why that's very rare. And it's hardly been used. It has some use, but not much. And it's almost near mint. This one's definitely one of my favorites. Again, if I find these new old stock ones, I keep them all the time because ones like this you don't see too often in really good shape. Most of the time they're heavily used, which is what they were used for. That one's one of my favorites. Next, this is one of the ones, if I remember right, my father got me this one. This is a what a knife, literally. This one's kind of unique for a lot of reasons. One, it has a bottle opener on it instead of a regular little pen blade, which you don't see that often. This one is made by Camillus, by the way. And you don't see that too often. And my father knows if it's one of a kind or unique, I want it in my collection. And that's beautiful. It's almost brand new, never been used, too. So that's one of my favorites. Next is a Japanese Barlow. Now, normally I don't keep these unless they're in really good shape. This one actually is in really good shape, and it does lock pretty good. And to be honest, I'd rather take I'll take Japan over China and Pakistan any day. Or Taiwan, for that matter. Beautiful knife, real bone handles. Again, a real nice replica of a classic Barlow. I mean, that goes to show how many people are still replicating this knife today, even though this one's not a recent. This one's like from the 70s. Awesome Barlow. Next, this is one I want you guys to decide on. Me and my father debate about this quite a lot, and I want you guys to tell me. This is what I call a little Barlow. My father calls it a jackknife, so it's got this right here, but I have seen plenty of Barlows with this little cup right here. So I want you guys to decide in the comments, is this a Barlow or is this a jackknife? To me, it's a Barlow because, I mean, when you compare it... Yeah, let's get it wrong. When you compare it to a Barlow, the design is very similar. So I want you guys to decide in the comments and see who's right, me or my father. Is this a jackknife or is it a Barlow? Personally, like I said, I think it's a Barlow. But other than that, it's a Colonial knife. Definitely one of my favorites because it's unique because of the handles. And I love the shield on it. Next is one of my favorites my father got me. An Electrician's Barlow by a brand I've never heard of. That and it's got the sheep's foot blade right here. You don't see that too often. It's by a company called Rick Knorr, Boston, USA, called the Electrician's Mate. I said that really well, didn't I? Very beautiful knife. My father bought me one, and he also bought himself one. That looks nice. It's near new. Thank you very much, Dad. That's awesome. And it's just an unusual one you don't see. It's got the sheep's foot blade with the electrician's tool, and it's got a liner lock. You don't see those on Barlows hardly that much. Next is another Electrician's Barlow. If I remember right, this one came from my dad as well. He got this one for me as well. Yeah, this is a Colonial Electrician's Barlow. Again, you don't see these very often with the tool right here. Good knife and really good shape for the age. Again, very unique. That's why I like it. And if anyone out there has a buck Barlow, I would love to get that in my collection because that's the one Barlow I would love to find, but they're very expensive. You don't hardly find them. Next, getting into the bigger Barlows, this is a Cutter Barlow that I restored. My good friend JR gave this one to me, and when I got it, there was no handles, and it would not lock, and I was able to replace the spring, put brand new handles on it, and now it has its signature snapback again. And again, you don't see too many Cutter knives. I don't normally keep those. Well, I don't normally keep Cutter stuff because it's just not stuff I collect, but it's a Barlow, and I do love Barlows. So that's a nice knife. That one came out really good. Again, one of my favorites. Thank you very much, JR. Next is another Japanese Barlow that I restored. If I remember right, this one came off my buddy Jesse, who sent this to me. And when I got it, it was in really rough shape. This part's been repaired, obviously, and it was not flush. I hand sanded it till it was flush with the bone. And it has very good snap for being, a Japanese Barlow. And originally, this was a Japanese Barlow, and what I did is I took a Colonial Barlow that was already broken, and I took the blade out of it and put it in this handle. So yes, this is a pair of Japanese handles from a Barlow and a Colonial USA blade. Beautiful knife. Again, one of my favorites. I love keeping these large Barlows because these are really handy. Next is one that my brother had given to me. This is a Pakistan Bullet Barlow. Now, those who know me know I don't normally keep Pakistan stuff. My brother did give this to me, so that's why I'm keeping it. Plus, I just love the fact that it says Bullet right on the blade. And it's got real bone handles. But otherwise, I don't use this knife. This one's just for my collection. Next is a Pakistan Barlow I have actually attempted to use. My father saw this little lot of eBay, and one of them was a beat-up Pakistan Barlow, and I decided, well, I'll clean this one up and actually use it and see if it actually is crappy as people say it is, and oh, yes, it was. I put a very sharp edge on this knife once I got done with it, and it still would not cut worth a crap. I mean, that's sad thinking that you put all the work into this and it just doesn't cut. So the reason I keep this around is just to show it off, and hey, I cleaned this up. And like I said, it's good for my collection, but otherwise I would not recommend using this. Last big Barlow is one of my favorites. This one came from my buddy JR. This is an old Remington Granddaddy Barlow. A R1240. Very beautiful. It's still in rough shape, but it's a hell of a lot better than what it was, because originally the blade was totally rusted. You could not make out anything on it, and it would not lock, and I had to put a piece of wood right here to fix this part, but I love it anyway, because anything Remington is collectible, and it's a beautiful knife in general, because you just can't beat Remington, especially since these I'm about to show y'all. Last but not least is a Barlow knife I have yet to work on because I don't have the blades for it. This is an old Remington Barlow my buddy John Bulligan sent me for, if I remember right, this was for my birthday. And eventually I would love to get some Remington blades to put into this. So if anybody's got a beat up Barlow that's Remington that has a good pair of blades, happily send it to me. I would love to see if I can get this knife fixed up. But otherwise, it's just a nice piece of history you don't see. So thank you very much, John. Last but not least, besides these, is this Hammer brand Barlow that's very unique. You don't see this one too often either, especially with the red handles. This is a Remington little Barlow. And again, this is actually called a Barlow. And this is what I meant, because when you see a knife just like this, and like this, you can't tell me you don't call that a Barlow. So like I said, I still call it a Barlow, and that's what I call it. But anyway, it's a Hammer brand Barlow. This one's, again, is one of my favorites. This is one of the ones I think my dad got me. Thank you very much. Again, this is one of my favorites. Last but not least is the Collector Series. These are all made by Remington. Scoot all these a little bit. Come on, guys. Move out of the way. Move out of the way. These are all Remington Barlows that my father got for me. Remington Vintage Series. And each one I keep brand new in the box because, again, they're very collectible. And each one is slightly different than the other. They're all made in China, but heck, my father gave them to me. And like I said, you don't throw away something a family member gave to you. Get this one out first. Ah, nice. There's that one. This is the Remington steel-leaded shot shells Barlow. And this is the Remington. This is the Remington. Yeah, this is the Remington Eagle Barlow. And then this one is the Remington UMC Sure Shot Barlow. And last but not least is the Remington Getting Ready for Christmas Barlow. Thank you very much, Dad. I still love these knives. And again, I keep them brand new in the boxes because you don't say these are very collectible. All right, that's all my Barlows. Didn't mean this video to take this long. But thank you very much, man, for recommending I do this collection video. I look forward to the next one. And I figured I'll do this just for the heck of it. I'll let you guys vote for which one you want to see next. Do you want to see a collection of my small fixed blades? Do you want to see a collection of my random assortment of slip joint knives? Or do you want to see a collection of all my camp knives? Or do you want to see a collections video of all my Victorinox knives? Vote down below which one you want. And I guess I'll end the video right here. As always, stay sharp.